And we are live. Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Forever Sports. It has been a very interesting week, and we are finally at the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday. Friday vibes. And we actually haven't done a live stream on a Friday in a long, long time, but you guys have been enjoying them this week, and we've been had some very good live streams. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's jump on you. And what a moment. I turned on the TV because I thought, let me just check what's happening in the NPC. And no more than Suwanga on the screen there. Man's operating over there. And the main thing we need to chat about is tomorrow. We have got a Springbok team announcement that is confirmed. We have got, put a light on. We'll do Bok Fridays over here in the studio there. What a bum. How cool is that, by the way? That's what, by the way, we're raising money for if you'd like to donate towards it. We're going to try to get more of those kind of vibes. But, yeah, it's Bok Friday. And we've got a very big weekend. In fact, there's rugby tomorrow from 6 a.m. to about 9 p.m. And it's back to back to back to back. And we will be giving you guys so much coverage. We are going to be live for Wallabies versus Argentina, live for the Boks, player rating show after the Boks, and as well as live for the Springbok women up against New Zealand. It is mission impossible, really, but you never know. You never know. And the main thing is to get behind the Springbok women and to back them in a World Cup where they've changed history, and let's just see what this final last push is going to look like. What can they do tomorrow? Can they get some sort of result? Can they maybe even just surprise New Zealand? Even if they could just put in a good first half, for example, put a bit of pressure on them, for example, that in itself would go a long way towards just capping off what has been a really successful tournament so far. People, if you would like to feature in the Rassie Coaches Corner, please do consider sending a super chat to feature there. If you'd like to become a member as well, please do click on the link in the pinned comment. And you get a cool little animation with your name on the back of a Bok jersey if you do that on the screen. And obviously personal shout-outs and the likes of that. We've had some very, very cool interactions in the stream. And some shout out to everybody this week who is really getting involved with the live streams. We have put a poll out actually on the channel asking you guys, when should we kind of be doing these shows? Obviously no Boks next week, but we will obviously still do some live shows. Start to look at a kind of... the URC, for example, we've got a Currie Cup final to preview, which is going to happen next weekend. And I'm really, really hoping to see a result from the Lions tomorrow night. And I can go and book my tickets for the Currie Cup final and go and watch the Lions with, lift some silverware. Let the boys cook. Let the boys cook. So lots of going on over there. And we've got so much to get through today. Tim van den Berg saying, morning Stevie, lineouts must be better this week. We're going to talk about that. Malcolm, Lewis, Ruan must coordinate well. If Sasha can marshal the team to a win, then this might be a watershed moment for the Boks. Sapri Kiwi saying, I think we either put 30 on them or lose by 30. Darren Herbst, big shout, thank you so much. Well, there we go. We've already hit our goal, and it's been 5 minutes of the stream. Saying, here come Boka. Big shout out for the super chat. As you can see, goes into the specialist little block over there. And in fact, we can actually make it a lot bigger, shall we? So we can really shout out these guys and the donations that they bring to the channel. Because I don't really realize how big of a thing it is. If you want to become a member, by the way, that's the whole little animation, little bit of a sound effect as well. You should be able to hear the sound effect. The old classic trumpet. But big shout out Darren Herbst for hitting that goal. Maybe we'll throw another goal out because you guys have just been so cool this week. And shout out to that. Because really, as I said, it's difficult to explain how big of a difference it makes for the channel to try and keep things going, really. And those who've been watching for a long time will know exactly how much we have progressed with Green Screen Studios, new Green Screen Studios, going to Australia and the likes of that. Craig Morgan saying, Boks must bloody tackle. Worried about Kane, doesn't like tackling modern day Nas. I don't think it's a case of Kane doesn't like tackling. I think his positioning sometimes doesn't leave him in the best position to make the tackle. But I don't think you got any issue. He made a couple of big tackles. Just needs to positionally tomorrow need to be right. Brian Mitchell saying we will get a hiding tomorrow. Nice and positive on a Friday morning. W says 18-point loss incoming, defense dodgy as it is now. You have these backline changes. Well, that's one of the big things, isn't it, for tomorrow? And I'm going to start going back to Tian van den Berg. And I think he makes a very good point about the lineouts. Now, what's been quite interesting has been the narrative this week about whether... Oh, what a try that is. awful defending, but some slick. Yeah, I was watching some NPC on the screen. The lineouts last week were an absolute disaster. Let's call it a spade. They were an absolute disaster. I do think there were multiple different reasons and different things that kind of went into why there was such a disaster. And I do think that several things can be true at the same time. Malcolm Marx, for example, said that he needs to take responsibility. He said he wasn't up to standard. He needs to take responsibility. He needs to get that right. You know, as the hooker, he needs to get his timing right. He needs to get his throwing right. He needs to improve there, which I think he's spot on. He does. And you know, the Boks always are very good at taking their taking responsibility for what's going on and the likes of that. So I think that he's put on there. But I do think that there wasn't coaching. I do think that they weren't maintaining a gap when you didn't. In fact, on the watch along, I was very annoyed at the free kick call, because we had props running into and bumping into New Zealand players in that lineup because there was no gap being kept. And I think that, for example, gave them that slight edge in terms of getting in front of our jumpers, winning those lineouts. I do think that'll be a key focus tomorrow, and I think that Sirkulisi will be very much in the ref's ear about it, basically saying, you know, they're encroaching, for example, they're not leaving a space. We can't really compete, for example. We need that space, for example, and the type of thing. So I do think that will very much be a focus, and it'll be interesting to sort of see, because every week, you know, you get the intricacies, because all of a sudden that would have happened, and we then would have had a case of, we would have sent feedback to World Rugby, for example. We would have asked for feedback, and I think there's an expedited process as well, where you kind of get that feedback quite quickly, and they would have had more feedback and an idea of moving forward into this weekend of what to do to prevent what happened, and how to sort of fix that, really. So hopefully that will be kind of the big game changer this weekend, that we will have better lineups and have cleaner ball, because at the end of the day, we all teams attack off set piece. You've got to have that set piece dominance. I mean, you look at Argentina, for example, and they scored some scintillating tries last weekend off scrums. I think it was 2 of them. And both of them probably, you know, try the tournament contenders. One of them probably try the season contenders. So if we fix our line, obviously it means our rolling more, for example, comes back into it. Not that we've really seen much of a rolling more this year. Hasn't been one of our big strengths. Need to get back to that. But it also means that we've got potential clean line to get, for example, somebody like a Damien Willemse on the front foot, or when he comes on, Andre Estes on the front foot, or you can even get a Sirkulisi running in the centers, get over the advantage line, create that space, exploit it. Going some of that camera, Savvy Kiwi says, do you think Hooker can handle it? He's facing Will Jordan. Well, it's a very interesting. The wing battles tomorrow are very interesting, because you've got a Leroy Carter on debut, as they say over there, and he's up against Cheslin Colby. You've then got Ethan Hooker playing his first start up against Will Jordan. So you've probably arguably got two of your top 5 best wings in the world in Cheslin Colby and Will Jordan, up against 2 players who are very new to Test rugby. Ethan Hooker's played all of maybe half an hour, maybe a bit more, but he's not played a lot of Test rugby. It's his first ever start. So both those battles, I think, are going to be very, very interesting to watch, because of the fact that they are so new to Test rugby and up against such experienced players and such X-factor oriented players. You know, Will Jordan, pace on pace. Cheslin Colby, the step. You know, they've been incredibly difficult defenders attackers to defend against, and that is their role tomorrow, to try and defend against those guys. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see. Vickers van der Veefer saying the Boks can do it. Christy asking, what time do they play? 9:05 is kickoff tomorrow. Safi Kiwi saying, I was at the game, it was very loud. Krief says, good forward pack, front foot ball tomorrow, and our young backline will slice and dice them. Go Booker. I hope we do see some slicing and dicing. Big game for me for Dane Willemse tomorrow. I'm very excited to see what he can do. I know he's been under a lot of criticism for the form he's shown. Maybe hasn't been at his best. I do think that bringing him close to the action, playing the number 12 jersey, could do wonders for him. And I really hope, and he's always risen to the occasion. He's one of those players. You talk about BMT, he's got it. I mean, remember when he slotted that kick to win? Who were we playing against? Oh goodness, intercept try in the MPC. who was he playing against? And he dropped the whole LeBron celebration. It was a huge. I mean, he doesn't even do place kicking, for example, often. He stepped it up, slotted, and said, "Thank you very much." So he is a big match player, and he makes big match plays. Big game plays during the game. So he's a really important player. So I think a lot of how we do tomorrow, we'll see depending on his form, and obviously Sasha. Jason says, I think we will see a much improved Marks this game. He is world class for a reason, and having Lewis/Nokia operating will benefit the line. Well, that's the thing. We've also got two out-and-out line specialists on the park. It'll be interesting actually to see who is calling the lines tomorrow, whether it will be Lewis, whether it will be Ruan Nokia. Both very, very good line-out operators, and having both of them will be a big boost for the Boks. David, who is one of our Forever Sports members, you can see he's got his name in green, got a little badge next to him as well, so a big shout out to you, saying, I think this is a Bok team that could win by 15 plus or lose by 20 plus. It's a massive unknown to me. Getting front football will be critical. I think a lot of people are feeling that way, in fairness. It's pretty cool to see that we kind of all on the same page with regards to if we rock up, we know that we can put points in this All Black side. I think it is an exciting team that can really have a go and can have a big impact. But at the same time, I think we're also very aware that it is a young side, and if things go bad and if things don't quite go to plan, then we could struggle and it could get ugly quite quickly. So we're quite aligned with regards to that. Saeed Khan saying, the pressure on New Zealand last week to defend the Eden Park record will hurt them this week in terms of getting up for the game. If our backs click, I rate we'll make a statement tomorrow. Mike Larry saying, could you do a future video on realistically how many Boks will retire after the World Cup? Because that will shed light on our future players who will replace here, Peter Steph, Toy, etc., etc. Yeah, we can do that. We've got a bit of time, probably in October we can do that, in between the Rugby Championship and the Autumn Nation Series. The answer is a lot. Moving forward to the 2031 World Cup, we won't have Frans Maherbe, Vincent Clark, Malcolm Marx, Bongi Benambi, Peter Steph, Eben Etzebeth, Lua Diago, Sia Khaleesi, Franco Mostert, maybe Arceus name it at a push, but unlikely. You won't have Kobus Reinach, you won't have Andre Pollard, you won't have Damien Delende, you won't have Jesse Creel, you won't have Cheslin Colby, you won't have Willie LaRue, you won't have Andre Esterhazen, maybe could be still around, but unlikely. So we're looking at 16, 17 players who, some of them won't even make the World Cup, this coming World Cup, but definitely probably won't make the 2031 World Cup. So it'll probably be the most changed squad that we've had. We obviously had a very similar 2023 squad to what 2019 was. We might still have a reasonably similar squad in 2027, but at the same time, we might have 65-70% of our 2023 World Cup squad in the 2027 World Cup. But at the same time, if those sort of same players stay in the system, it might be similar come the 2031 World Cup, because a lot of these new players who sort of come in, that 35%, for example, might all be available, and the likes of that. But we can definitely get into that. And Night Corner says, I just want to see Wilco put them on roller skates again. Sappy Kiwi says, Willemse hasn't played 12 in so long. It's his best position, but let's hope it doesn't take him too long to adjust. Well, let's go check when the last time he did play at 12, shall we? For the Storm. He did play there for the Stormers, but I agree, it was a while ago. It probably wasn't a while ago, to be honest, if you go look back at how many the last few games he's played. So if we look at his last game, let's look at this past season, shall we? And he came off the bench twice for the Boks, started at 15 against Italy, and the last time he played 12 was for the Stormers on the 10th of May, which in fairness was only about only about 2 starts ago, actually. The nice thing about it is he did get a run of 3 games for the Stormers in that 12 jersey, then shipped to the 15. So he has played a bit of 12 this past season. I do agree, though. I do think that it is his best position. I really enjoy him at 12. I like him when he's close to the action on the ball. He's such a good ball carrier, strong ball carrier, good defender as well, and can add to the distribution. So I'm very excited to see what he can do tomorrow. Presh says, hopefully our line-out drive our attack as opposed to the other way around, and we win clean ball. W, thank you for helping me out. It was the kick versus Wales. And Peter Stewart saying, I think the forward pack is really exciting. Plenty speed and agility. Welcome back, Jasper. Forentu, but yeah, look, that's a huge addition to that pack. He is exactly kind of maybe what we're missing. That grunt up front, big ball carrier. we talk about players, for example, that you don't want to see coming around the corner and try and tackle. He's one of those players, fights in the contact as well, gets over the advantage line. So I think he'll be a point of difference tomorrow, and excited to see what he's got for us, and kind of performance, especially after having been out for a month. He's going to be desperate to really prove himself because he feels that he's let the team down by getting that red card, which to a certain degree he has, and now he's got that opportunity to sort of make amends and to show them what he's all about. And Savvy Kiwi saying, I hope the scrums are officiated properly tomorrow. All Blacks front row always overextended and collapsed but not pinged. Kirk P says Moody has defensive lapses, which is worrying, cannot afford that in big games. Creve says we are smashing other countries under 18 and 20 world champions. Great sign for 2031. And Mikey Larry saying, do you think the selection of Leroy Carter in the starting lineup was influenced by Ethan Hooker's selection in our team? And do you think wing is Ethan's best position? I don't think necessarily. I think that Rico Iwane's been pretty ordinary for quite a while, to be honest. It's just making the move back to wing, which I think was the right move to get him back to trying to get back to his best. He's still not playing particularly well, so I do think that there's a certain amount of we need somebody, we need to give a chance, and nobody's really taking the opportunity. Let's give it a go. Maybe having an Ethan Hooker on the park means that they're a bit more at ease in terms of trying that experience and maybe trying a few things, because you think sitting there saying, well, he's on debut, they've got a wing there who hasn't played a lot. It's not like, we're playing against an incredibly experienced side and we're throwing him into the mix. But yeah, it is going to be a big task for Leroy Carter. Exciting player though, and we need to be careful of him. Kig Senecal says, Chesn, despite very good performances, hasn't scored in the last 4 tests. Hope he scores a brace. And one saying, thank you, Rassie, by bringing young stars with no fear. They don't know you, Rassie. You are from another planet. And Antti said, didn't the Stormers move Damien to 15 because 12 didn't work out so great? Incorrect. He's actually played more at 12 for the Stormers recently than he has at 15, because he was so good at 12 and because they got Warwick. They moved him to 15 for that game because Warwick wasn't available, and they got a red card in that game, and took a while before he was allowed to play against, and then he started at 15 for Italy, etc., etc. But if you look at the Stormers over the season, he played more at 12 than anywhere else, actually, including 2 games at fly half. If you look at his career, for example, it's quite interesting. This is obviously international competitions and Springbok games. He's played fullback 48% of his career, fly half 30%, and inside centre 23%. He has featured 28 times at inside centre. All of those before tomorrow for the Stormers. So first opportunity for... He has, to be fair, he has shifted to inside centre at test level before, but he hasn't started in the number 12 jersey. He's never run on with the number 12 Springbok jersey. Savvy Kiwi says, the lapse in concentration on defence isn't good. That's how we allow teams back in after we score. Refer to obstruction off kickoff last week. Adrian says, which loose forwards do you think will join this box squad when they come to face Argentina? I want to see Vincent Tuka back in the mix. I think we need to continue looking at options at 7. I'll be interested to see if they might look at Renzo du Plessis. They've spoken about him quite a few times. Might see if they can get a call up there. Maybe Evan Lewis gets a shot. Cameron Hanekom, Albert Lowe are still very far from being available, so we won't see them. Maybe Ruan Fenter, outside chance, could potentially get a call up. Maybe Jean-Luc Dupré will get a bit of an opportunity to play against Argentina. Saif says, if Boks and Pumas win tomorrow, what are the permutations to win the RC? This has been a properly exciting competition this year. Well, let's have a look at it towards the end, shall we? Saif, and we'll bring up the logs and check. Mikey Larry says, it's almost URC time. I can't wait. Any predictions? Lions to make the playoffs. Come on, the lads! We've also got a very exciting prediction league that we're going to be doing on our own platform for the URC. So I think it's going to be cool to sort of get that going. But let's have a look at the All Black side, by the way. This is the Springbok side. We've spoken to death about it so far. But this is the All Black side. And what I'm putting up here is I want to kind of look at the matchups, really. I think that Tyrell Lomax coming into the starting lineup is a big call and the right call from Scott Robertson, because I think that we really did pulverize their scrum last week. Very keen to see what Oxenchair does on Tyrell Lomax, who actually, to be fair, came on and got hammered as well. So I think that it's more balanced. Samasoni Takawao coming into the starting lineup as well. It's a bigger front row than last week. Takawao is bigger than Cody Taylor. Tyrell Lomax, much of a muchness, I think slightly bigger potentially than Fletcher Newell. He is better though. He's a much better scrummager. Same lock pairing. same loose trio. So the only change is those two changes in the front row. They're obviously missing the experience of Cody Taylor. Takawawa is a great player, and if it were not for the form of the very impressive form of Cody Taylor in the last few years, he would be the starting hooker. But what for me is a big call is Noah Hotham starting the number 9 jersey, Leroy Carter on debut. Apart from that, the other changes, Will Jordan shifts to the wing, Damian McKenzie at fullback. This for me is a very interesting test, and I don't look at that All Blacks side. And the All Blacks fans have been after me, and you can keep coming after me, and I'll still maintain because it doesn't scare me. Billy Proctor and Jordie Barrett center combination doesn't scare me. Will Jordan scares me. Beauden Barrett's a great player, but I still just look at this All Black side. I still think they just don't quite have the fluidity, the understanding of each other, and the attacking prowess of former sides. I don't think it's something that really I look at them and I go, oh my goodness, we're not going to be able to compete. For me, the forward battle's going to be interesting. I think we do potentially have a better forward pack, especially with the SPVs coming in. So our backup forwards, I think it's a very strong forward pack. And I think our backline's full of unknowns, but I think their backline's full of maybe inconsistency. So I think the individual matchups are incredibly exciting. Wallace Titi versus Jasper Wiese. Artie versus Sia Khaleesi. Simon Parker versus Peter Steph the Toy. I think the Barrett versus Sash Famagomazulu battle at 10. The centre battle, Jordie Barrett versus Damian Willemse. Those, for me, if you go back a couple of years ago, some of the best players in the world. And that battle in itself is going to be interesting. Billy Proctor, Kane Moody, very inexperienced players. Ironically, Kane Moody's got more international caps than a Billy Proctor does. Billy Proctor's got more experience at centre internationally. Kane Moody's only playing his, third or fourth game. Will Jordan, plenty of experience up against Ethan Hooker. Cheslin Colby, all the experience in the world, up against Leroy Carter. Damian McKenzie, up Lele Fassi. There's so many cool individual matchups. And then if you look at the bench, a standard 5-3 split for both sides. Brodie McAllister, very new to the game, coming in. One's from the Merva, just his third test, I think, or second test. So 2 youngsters there. Tamati Williams, Jan-Andrew Vessels. You've got Fletcher Newell, Vilko Lowe. I think the scrums in the second half are going to be very interesting. Fabian Holland versus Anarchist Neyman coming into the side. Duplessis Cariffi, for example, versus Kwaka Smith coming on. Finley Christie versus a Grant Williams. I think Grant Williams obviously probably the better player there. Quinton Tupai, Ruben Love versus an Andre Estes and Amani Liebach. It's very, very exciting because I think the individual matchups are pretty mouth-watering, and there's so many different things and that could happen and might happen and are going to happen. And I think it becomes a very difficult one to call. Kiwi Rob says the All Black squad looks stronger than the Boks. The backline, I think, looks stronger. I don't think you look at that forward pack versus the All Blacks forward pack and say it's a better pack. I think the Boks have got a better pack. I think the All Blacks probably have the better line. But at the same time, you look at the halfback pairings, Kubas Reinach and Sash Famagomazulu versus Noah Hotham and Beauden Barrett. And you probably find there's parity there because Noah Hotham's unknown. He's playing his second test. He's first ever start. Versus Kubas Reinach, seasoned international player. Been around the block, 35 years old. Came on and had a very strong game last week. Even Sasha, for example, has played more games than Noah Hotham. You look at the wings. Will Jordan, for me, gets nullified by Cheslin Colby. I think, it's a flick of a coin between those two if you had to do a combined side. It's a flick of a coin between Leroy Carter and Ethan Hooker because we just don't know. You're probably going with Jordie Barrett and Billy Proctor in the centres, but I think, there's an argument that you could potentially put a Kane Moody in there based on previous performances at outside centre, particularly outside centre. He's never really had a bad game at outside centre for the Boks. Damian McKenzie versus Apele Fassi, again, I would probably go maybe Damian McKenzie based on Fassi's form recently, but I think it's a bit of a flip of the coin. So I actually don't think it's that clearly a better All Black side, in all honesty. I think the backline's older, more experienced, but we've still got the unknown of what this backline's going to do and how they're going to click and if they're going to click. And they might click, to be fair. So it's going to be a very interesting one. You have to remind Leroy Carter as a sevens player. I don't have to remind anybody. But lots of sevens players have made the... I don't know what your point is. He's playing 15s tomorrow. Cheslin Colby also played sevens. Kwaka Smith also played sevens. What's your point? What's your point? He understands pressure. What does that even mean? Because he plays sevens, he understands pressure. I don't know. I don't know what tangent you're on, Chief, but it's not making any sense. Mike Larry says, Willemse and Moody, he's excited for that. Tanner 2 says, Eben Etzebeth, are we taking this for sure? Well, no, Eben Etzebeth this weekend being rotated so they can keep him going for longer. And I think it's very interesting that they're being very aware of the older players and kind of understanding. And to be fair, it'll be very case-on-case basis. This player's coping. This player maybe there's a bit of fatigue setting in, for example, a couple of niggles. They always speak about the fact that rugby players never really play at 100%. There's always some sort of... In fact, I think sportsmen are quite like that. That there's always sort of some sort of niggle or some sort of slight injury here or there. And you kind of have to make that decision of who are you, at what point are you comfortable with them still playing with the injuries that they're carrying, with maybe the niggles and the likes of that. And that's where I think you, for example, will look at maybe the evidence and say, listen, he's maybe carrying a couple of niggles. We want to just rotate him and not take the chance over there. I'm going to bring up the log in just a bit, and we can have a look at exactly what that's looking like and kind of gauge what tomorrow's permutations are. And speaking of permutations, we're also going to be doing a World Rankings video and the preview really for what's going to happen tomorrow, what's happening to happen tomorrow with all the different results potentially. The All Blacks will slip out of number one if the Boks do win. So there is a lot for the Boks to play for with regards to the number one position because they can retake it. And as Boks fans, we'll be very much adamant that we need to retake it. We need to get back to the number one spot. And because this is a World Cup draw year. I think that's the main thing that everybody's sort of talking about, is that half the time we don't really worry too much about world rankings, but in this year we kind of have to. Right, let's look at the log. That's the log. Not a lot in it. All Blacks at the top with 10 points from a possible 15 points. The Boks 5 points of a possible 15. I mean, that's 33% of the possible points. Not good. However, the Boks win tomorrow, for example, even without a bonus point, and New Zealand don't get a bonus point, we go to 9 points. Argentina win tomorrow without a bonus point, and Australia don't get a bonus point, we go to 9 points. There's actually a scenario where all four teams could end up on the same amount of points. If South Africa and Argentina both get bonus point wins tomorrow, if Australia get a losing bonus point and New Zealand don't get a bonus point, then all four teams could be on 10 points after 4 games. If that is the case, I think it's advantage to South Africa, to be honest. Because I think that Australia at home are looking very good, and I think that they all fancy themselves to try and beat this All Black side at home. South Africa don't actually have to go to Argentina. And I think that's a huge trump card. And this is what the annoying thing is. If we had beaten Australia, like we should have beaten Australia in that first test, and it should have been a bonus point win, we would have been sitting tied with the All Blacks, and tomorrow could have almost been like a quarterfinal, for example. And that's, for me, is going to be a huge frustration, because it's a case of we now... Tomorrow our fights stay in the championship, whereas tomorrow could have been almost the first step to actually winning the championship, and should have been the first step to winning the championship. Savri Kiwi says, Rassie owes me. I spent $200 on that cup performance last week, and Lux Creeps that front row will squash that Tomati again. Kiwi says, do you think you deserve the number one spot after you've had an easier season than the All Blacks? Brew, your Oaks played the French under-19s in the mid-year series. I think there were 3 players in that French squad that have been to a World Cup before. So... In what realm of possibility have you guys had an easier season so far? Again, my man makes 0 sense. Plus, have you seen our end of year tour? But anyway, yeah, shame. You always have to have the deluded ones. Toxic says, off topic, where can we watch Under 19 Cup live? I don't think, as far as I understand, it's being shown anywhere, unfortunately. Carl says, I hope we can play the same rugby we played in Twickenham against the Blacks. The midfield just need to stand their ground on defense. Well, Chief, Argentina actually decided to go to Twickenham for the game because they need money, and because they know that if they take the Boks there, they're going to sell out and get a lot of money. So, speak to them, Chief. Not our fault. We didn't ask for it. Mikey Larry says, I made a bet at work. I'll wear an All Blacks jersey at work on Monday. If we lose, we won't let go. Boca. Dorian saying, will be interesting to see times will be some interesting times, if all teams are on 10 points at the end of this round. Probably will then be the closest it's ever been in the Rugby Championship at this stage of the competition. 100%. 100%. People, we're gonna wrap it up there. It's been another fun show. We will be doing more of these shows next year. And not next year, next week. Kiwi says we have the Grand Slam at the end of your tour. Okay. Sorry. Aren't you playing Ireland in Washington? Imagine. That's bullshit. You should go and play Argentina in Argentina instead of London. You're literally playing Ireland in the States. The Grand Slam tour. Big whoop. Playing Ireland and France are a much bigger tour than the Grand Slam tour, and playing Ireland outside of Ireland. Frauds. Savage Keith says, I'm more shocked that old mate has an All Blacks jersey to wear if he loses. Well, that's kind of what I've always said, when we do these bets, for example, and people say, will you wear this jersey? I'm like, cool, but do you have one? Because I don't exactly have an All Blacks jersey just lying around to avoid one if I lost a bet. And Marshall says, I just want to see the basics done extremely well. Agreed. And that's a good comment to finish on. People, will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. The kickoff for Argentina versus Australia is 6 a.m. So set those alarms, boys. It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. But we've got a double header. Box versus the All Blacks, and then the Women Box versus the Black Ferns in the afternoon. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow morning for that. Big shout out to Darren Hurst for the donation. Please do consider becoming a member throughout this weekend and trying to build our members. We are trying to grow that up to 250 members is our next sort of goal. So please do become a part of that journey. Smash like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much.